Hey everyone, it's Melissa here and welcome back to the Coco Vanilla Studio channel. Today I am sharing a layout that I made of a sports photo that I had of my son. It's from a couple of years ago and I wanted to focus on these beautiful star die cuts that come in the die cut ephemera pack. So you can see here the things that I've pulled, a few of the stars, a lot more than I use, a few other bits and pieces that I thought might work. I've got a sequin mix because I want to make a shaker pocket. I've got some scraps, and you'll see I've got a really small piece from the layout that I made last month. I've got some really super old twine from my stash and a piece of packaging so I can do the packaging technique, and a stencil. You can't see it very well, but there are stars on that stencil. And this is my photo. It's of well, I shouldn't say it's the Jiu-Jitsu Nationals, and this was from 2 years ago. We have this tournament, it's twice a year. The first one is where you wear your gi, and the second tournament is where you don't wear a gi. You wear like shorts and a rash guard, or tights and a rash guard. So we are a Jiu-Jitsu loving and training family. 3 of us are currently training, including myself. This is my son when he was, I think, 11, and he'd been doing it, I don't know if he'd been doing it about a year, and him and his friend went up to the Nationals, and I went as well. And I'd only just started doing Jiu-Jitsu, so I didn't understand it that well, but this is a photo I got of him at the beginning of the match, and that's in combat stance, and that's before you try and take someone down. So I'll talk a bit more about that soon, but I better explain what I'm doing here. I actually said I was going to use that packaging for the packaging technique, but no, that was a plain piece of packaging that I haven't used for the packaging technique. You can just use any packaging that bits and pieces come in for scrapbooking. I love using it for shaker pockets because I love the environmental, I guess, benefit of not throwing something out. And also it makes a wonderful window for your shaker pocket. So I've just adhered it with some really thin double-sided tape, and I've used my crocodile just to punch a little hole in it. And in order to keep all the goodies, all the sequins inside the 2 pieces of packaging, I'm wanting to stitch. Now, if I wasn't going to stitch, I would have to put some more adhesive between the 2 layers of packaging. So it's quite a good idea to get a piece of packaging that is small like this one. I think this one held some ephemera, and that way the 2 pieces are already lined up. And sometimes if you're not doing a shape like a star, if you're doing a square, you can even use the edge where the packaging is sealed together to hold your bits and pieces. So it's kind of hard for me to explain, but I think you'll see what I mean as I progress. So I've just used my little piercing tool, and there's a white line that goes down the middle of the star, and I have just stitched along it. Now, with the hole that I punched with my crocodile, I've made sure that that hole is back from the stitching, so I'm not going to get a situation where I'm going to put my needle through and end up in that big hole. So you want to make sure there's enough room for your holes and your stitching, and if you're adding a hole. So here I'm just doing a back stitch. I'm not going to make you watch the whole thing. It's pretty self-explanatory, really. Yeah, and it is a bit more difficult because I'm stitching through the adhesive that I've put down to hold my star to the packaging. And I do recommend that you do put some adhesive down, because it does make it easier. Now, I'm really sorry, but I thought I was filming and I wasn't. So all you've missed is me tipping the sequins into the star, and then I think off camera I stitch it up. So continue my stitching. I'd left a little gap just to put them in, and then I stitch it up, and no one's the wiser that there was ever a hole there. Now, I'm sorry, I should have cut this bit out. It's just me checking a few things. So here I've attached them to the paper clip, and I think, I'm sorry, but that bit was also cut out of my video. I did debate not posting or even making this video, but in the end, editing it and posting it, but in the end I've decided to go with it because you still get to see quite a lot of my process. Now, I had also gessoed my white cardstock and then put that stencil, I put texture paste through the stencil. That also wasn't filmed, but you've seen that done before. And now I'm just using these Lindy's Magicals. because I love the shimmery effect they have when they dry, and I'm just using the packaging technique to get this down on top of the stars. Now if I had some baby wipes, and I don't, I probably need to get some. I used to always have them before Ava was toilet trained, but now she is, so I don't. But you can actually use a baby wipe and you can wipe off whatever mist you're using or watercolour off the texture paste stars. But in this case, it didn't bother me that some of them were covered in this sort of mixed media and some weren't. So here I'm just doing some gold splatters with that same Magicals powder in gold, and I'm put that aside to dry. Actually dried it off between all the layers, and I think that's really important. If you can just be patient and do that, because if you put everything down, packaging technique and splatters, your splatters are going to run into your packaging technique and then they're not going to be as defined. So I just use a heat gun, and so I've dried it off 3 times to get the 3 different layers. So there, that paper I just put down, I think it's called All Star. I was going to use the side that has the blue stars, but in the end, when I turned it over, I loved how subtle the other side looked. And the other side is one that a lot of people, including myself, have used for a background, because all of the detail is on the edge of the paper, and I think it's just like a white in the middle. So there are definitely other ways you can use that paper, and I think this is one of them. So I'm loving how, well, I love how this turns out, and I'm loving how this is looking. I've got my mixed media flowing down from top left to bottom right, and then I've got this this feature. I wanted it to look like a keychain, that the stars were hanging off the keychain. He was 11, he's now 13, so I certainly didn't want this to look feminine, and I didn't want it to look like a baby mobile type layout. So that's my thoughts about the keychain and why I've designed it like I have. That paper clip is really old. It's probably like 12 years old, and it's just from my stash. I don't even know where it comes from. I just keep things. I don't get rid of many things. All my kids take them, or I give them to my kids. And it was the perfect way to hang the stars off the side of the photo. And I like that it has an anchoring point for these stars. You didn't see me attach them, but all I did was just punch each of the other stars and then loop the twine through and tie them off. It's a knot, but it's not like your normal reef kind of knot. It's where you loop the 2 bits together, pull them tight. And then I tied all 3 stars together first, or I brought them all together and tied them together over the clip in 1 knot. Now, probably making no sense at all. If you look at the close-ups and also on the blog post, you'll see better detail of how I did it. So I've used a lot of these clear stickers because I love them. And I've used them for my title, and I've used smaller stars for my embellishment. And then this little phrase, I can't quite see what it says, but it means a lot to this photo. I think it says "You are a superstar." I was going to use it underneath the word awesome, but it wasn't looking quite right. And I really, really wanted to use it. And then I thought, let's use it like an ephemera piece or a die cut. So I stuck it on some white cardstock and fussy cut it out. And this is a good thing to do if you are struggling, because I know some people have said they struggle to use those clear translucent stickers. I love them. I think they add a wonderful touch. They're quite subtle. Or you can do like I've done with the title and feature them. So yeah, so adding them to white cardstock and turning them into ephemera is definitely the way to go, especially if you're wanting to feature them in a more bold way, because I think they're quite subtle the way they're translucent. So here is a sticker. I think it says "Totally Rad" or "You're totally rad." You're pretty rad. That's off the sticker sheet. I just added another little group of stars. Tried again to use a flare badge, but I just think it was too much. I thought that "Yeah Boy" was quite good, and I could have kept it there, but I think it was too bold next to everything else. I did manage to get this season's pass little ticket type thing. I cut it, well, I'd say in half, yeah, and then just tucked it from 2 of the corners, and I think that provides a bit of interest because this layout is very right dominant. And yeah, that's my final layout. I added my journaling, which you can read it. It explains the challenge that he had in this competition. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching this, and I'll be back again early next month. So take care.